Gentlemen, I'm meadsy69. Welcome back to the channel. Now, in today's video, we are going to look at two tanks in particular, which I think personally are the two OG OP tanks. Yes, the OG tanks. I would go as far as to say as these two potentially could be the two most broken tanks to ever come in Blitz. Now, there are a few other tanks. Now, when tanks are first released, there's a few tanks back in the day. You know, you've got the Keniotsu, for example. Keniotsu was a mistake tank. It really was a mistake tank. Wargaming put a decimal point wrong in the reload. So the reload is absolutely stupid. So they took it from store and they let the people who own the tank keep the tank. But since 5.5 and Wargaming changed a few things, I don't think the Keniotsu is as OP as it once was. Yes, it's still strong. If you come up against tier 2s, then it is insane. However, when you come up against tier 4s, it isn't so good. And then you have other tanks in the game. You know, you got the T-22. Again, another fantastic tank. And when this first come into the game, it was absolutely brilliant, and people were saying it was OP. Even now, you know, old days. You look back and you got the where is it? The Dracula. The Dracula was another one. The Dracula and the Helsing were two absolutely fantastic tanks. But I don't think these two tanks, the Helsing and the Dracula, were as OP as these two tanks that we are going to see. You guys might not want to, you know, you might not agree with me, which is absolutely fine, but I'm just going by my personal experience and my view. So what tanks do you think, before I show them, what tanks do you think are the two OG OP tanks? And what I mean by that is they were OP when they were first released into the game, and to some extent they are still OP now. So basically the two tanks in question that I was talking about are, of course, the Smasher and the Annihilator. Yes, the Smasher and the Annihilator. Some people prefer the Smasher, some people prefer the Annihilator. The Smasher, because it has that big alpha gun, it is insane, very, very good pen, HE pen, everything like that. It's actually got some armor, not as much, but it is like a KV2 on steroids. However, the Annihilator does around the same amount of damage in the 3 bursts, but it is quicker, it's got the speed boost, again, it's got armor, it's more maneuverable. So some people prefer the Smasher, some people prefer the Annihilator. I prefer the Smasher I do honestly prefer the Smasher. I like the fact that if I come up behind someone or to the side of someone, I have the ability to do almost, well, over about 1200 damage if you have a very nice high roll. You can't do that with the Annihilator. Of course, if you come up behind a Borzik or something like that with HE, then yeah, you might be able to get close to that. But I just like the ability, like this here. Goodbye, goodbye, and he's gone. He's absolutely gone. So the Smasher, I mean, coming up against the Smasher now and playing the Smasher now, do I think it's as strong as it was? Well, it's not changed. Nothing's changed with the Smasher. Nothing's changed with the Annihilator. They've not been nerfed. They've not been buffed or anything like that. They have just, you know, stayed the same for the whole time. But people learn how to deal with them. You know, if you look at things like the Kranwagen or a tank like that. Well, not even the Kranwagen. Say like a Badger. When the Badger first come into the game, people were saying it was absolutely broken because of how good it is in certain situations, you know, like in a hold down position. As soon as people learn how to deal with them tanks, they're not as strong as they once were, because people know how to deal with them. The tank's not changed, but the people have changed, and they learn how to deal with them. And that's the same with the Smasher. So the Smasher, we questioned Wargaming about it loads of times. Like, why are they in the game? And basically it was, or why aren't they being nerfed, was the question to Wargaming. And the answer was the same answer as the Kenny option. Now, the reason they didn't nerf or didn't remove the Kenny, because there's not enough people playing the tank to, you know, make things different. You know, there's not a lot of them in the game. And they said the same with the Smasher, and they said the same with the Annihilator. Now, the thing with the Smasher, if you just seen there, if you miss your shot, and I mean, that was completely my fault. I messed up completely with that shot, as I have with a few other shots. But yeah, they said there's not enough of them in the game to break them, which I thought was a bit funny, because a few years ago we looked at this, and when Wargaming told us about this, like there's not enough of them, I went over to, I think it was Blitz, and the Smasher and the Annihilator were one of the two most played tier 7 tanks. So for them to turn around and say there's not a lot of them in the game to make a difference to the tiers, I think was completely wrong. Like, absolutely completely wrong. When they are the top two tanks in tier 7 played, and they are, you know, and they're premium tanks, how can there not be a lot of them in the game? Nowadays, they're not spoken about much, because, you know, they're still played, but people get on with it. You know, they've had their moan about them, they will continue to moan about them, but after a few years, you know, people do get bored. Look at the Dracula. No one talks about the Dracula no more. Nobody. It is still a fun tank. Nothing has changed. So what's the difference between now and back then, when the Dracula was absolutely insane, the same as the Hellsing? Nothing is changed about them. It's just people learn, and they move on, and eventually they become bored talking about the tanks. So I still think overall the two most broken tanks that have ever come into Blitz are these two. Now, there are some exceptions, like the Object 268 version 4 and other tanks, you know, other tanks that, especially tech tree tanks that Wargaming have previously buffed and then made them then absolutely insane. Yeah, they were absolutely broken. There's some certain tanks that were absolutely broken. The Charioteer was one of them. If those of you that don't remember the Charioteer, when that first come into the game, like, oh my god, you are missing out, like, completely. The Charioteer basically is a tier 8 tank with Hesh, and it had the F-Feed 402 gun. Yes, so it had pretty much the same amount of pen, it had pretty much the same amount of reload, 5 or 6 second reload. It was insane. The Hesh pen was incredible. You used to be able to Hesh anybody, literally anybody, doing over 500 damage every 5 seconds. It was insane. And one of the first battles I ever recorded with the Charioteer was someone doing 8,000 damage, just camping in a bush and getting that Hesh out, doing over 8,000 damage in a tier 8 tank. It really was insane. But these two have kept their momentum as such. You can come up against them and they can ruin your day. You can play them and you could ruin someone else's day, and that is still the same to this day now. So overall, that's why I said I still think that these two are definitely the OG OP tanks in the game. Again, you guys might not agree with me, and if you don't agree with me, I would love to know your opinions. As I've said, your opinion matters to me. You know, I will take that, and I'll think, you know, I'm not going to sit there and if you turn around and say, nope, it was the T22, I'm not going to sit there and say to you, why? Why are you picking the T22? How is the T22 the most broken tank in the game? I'm going to sit there, fair play, you know. I will sit there and move on. Like, okay, that's fair enough. That's your opinion. That's a good choice. If you choose something like a Death Star or anything like that, then yeah, I would probably question it. Like, what the frick are you talking about? But everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and if you think it is a different tank, then that is totally up to you, and I'll respect everybody's opinion. So what do you guys think the two most OP tanks that have ever come into the game? I would love to know your guys' opinions, but for me, it has to be the Smasher, and it has to be the Annihilator. So I'm going to die here, unfortunately. Like, I did mess up a bit. This Boras, to be fair, had a really, really good game, and he was very unlucky in the end. But I messed up. I should have actually tried taking him out when I had the opportunity, but unfortunately he was just a little bit too quick. And I'm just thinking, you know what, I'm going to get a shot at it. Stupidly, I bounced. I thought I'm going to die around about now because the Tankenstein is pushing forward, but I just back up enough for the reload. I can see him aiming at the IS-6, and as soon as he shoots, I went to go forward, switched to the APCR, I went to take him out, and unfortunately the Borask kills me. So well done to that Borask. He actually plays very, very good. But if it wasn't for this guy here on 28 HP, he saves the day. So I always say it, a tank, doesn't matter how low its hit point is, you need to take him out. A tank out of the game is better than a tank with 28 HP, because he comes back and he does save the day. So yeah, let me know your opinions. Again, I'd love to know what you guys think is the 2 OG OP tanks in the comments below. But for now, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I am meadsyreplays, and I will catch you all very, very soon. Bye bye. With